What's going on, everyone? This is episode 1 of the Empire Sports TV podcast. Just to give a brief rundown on pretty much what we're going to focus on over here, generally speaking, going forward. As you could tell in the name, it's going to be sports-based, particularly New York sports. Not only, my personal favorite teams, but anything that's pretty relevant amongst the landscape of New York sports. Just me covering, hopefully weekly, but we'll see how my schedule fluctuates. But just short, brief. My main teams I'm locked into, four major sports. It's Giants, Yankees, Knicks, Rangers. But again, like I said, I'm pretty, tuned in. I pay attention to all the other teams going on: the Jets, the Mets, Islanders, Devils. I'm missing one. The Nets. The Nets. No shade. I promise there was no shade. I legit forgot. But yeah, pretty much. Just covering everything. Of course, those again, if it's big enough, right? Those aren't my team specifically, but long story short, enough of the waffling, just covering New York sports in general. It's something I'm pretty passionate about, so this is just a good way to chop it up with you guys, have some dialogue and just share something that we all care a lot about. So appreciate everyone that tunes in. Leave a like, subscribe, really appreciate it, and comment down below if you think my takes are horrible, if they're spot on, whatever it is. I'd love to hear from you, no matter what it is. So let's get into it. So we'll start with the most relevant thing. I guess football at the moment, specifically the Giants. We're 7 weeks in now. Definitely ups, definitely downs. Just to give a brief recap, obviously we know the season. Week 1, I guess I'll just encapsulate it as the Russ era. Not great. Week 1 was awful. Week 2 was, game of the year. Obviously didn't close it out, which we'll circle back to this week. Week 3, KC. I don't think anyone really expected us to win that game, even Giants fans. Then, the Dart era begun, taking down the Chargers and kind of being responsible for the Chargers free falling. Then the Saints, very, very winnable game. I think they got complacent. I think they looked down on them, to be frank, and they got complacent, and along with the turnovers and just a bad week. Eagles game, prime time, short week. That probably was the biggest Giants win in years, to be frank, like in years. And I don't, just a crazy win, unexpected, and just a great way to kick off Dart's career in prime time. And then that leads us to this week, 10 days off. For 3 quarters, the team looked prepared. They looked like they were locked in. And offensively, you couldn't ask for anything else. 32 points, what should have been 34 points with the 2 missed extra points, which we'll get to. For this offense, with this lack of personnel at wide receiver, just in general, just very, very, if not very, very limited playmakers. The only, standout playmakers, and I say standout loosely, the only semi-playmakers is Scat, Wandale, and Tyrone Tracy finally showed up to the party yesterday, but it's really those 3. Theo Johnson is super unreliable with his hands. Sometimes he shows up in big spots, but he's very unreliable with his hands. Like, to me, hands-wise, Daniel Bellinger's a way more reliable tight end, hands-wise. I feel like Daniel very rarely drops the ball, where I feel like Theo I'm scared every time Dart or anyone throws it to him because I'm scared he's going to drop it in a critical spot. But and to be fair, like I like Theo. Like I don't think he's like the worst tight end I've ever seen, but he's just unreliable. Like he probably is not a guy that makes it past his rookie contract realistically, unless there's a ginormous like developmental leap. But very limited playmakers. Obviously, we know Scat. He's a dog. He's a pit bull. And then Wandale is, he's undersized, but he's shifty. He's quick. He makes plays. Very good hands. And then after that, you're piecing together it with like duct tape and glue and staples. Today is Monday the 20th. I was hoping by now we would have news on the on the Waddle trade, and I still do believe that is going to happen. I give it like a 70-80% chance I think it happens. Just on my gut feeling and what Twitter sources and whatnot, but there's no real playmakers on the team outside of the people I mentioned. So for that personnel to put on that performance, the O-line was spectacular. It's spectacular, and I gotta give much credit to Coach. Damn, I'm drawing a blank on his name. But our O-line coach, he's Carmen Basilio. That's what it is. He's done a phenomenal job with the O-line in year 2. Obviously, we knew what Andrew Thomas was already. Illuminor had a very underratedly decent season last year, even a good season. Obviously, the weakness last year was the interior O-line. Van Roten's been more consistent this year. John Running's been more consistent this year. JMS was out yesterday, but Schotman, I think his name, or Schlotman, he did a very he couldn't ask for much else. In my personal opinion, I do think Marcus Bowe should be getting reps, and I think he should be starting with this team. Truthfully, I think he should be taking Van Roten's spot. I think he's super talented. From what we've seen from him, there's something there, I think. So, from my personal opinion, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So, I expect Van Roten just to make it through the end of the year, and the O-line has been phenomenal, the best I've seen it in years. Any of us have seen it in years, so can't really complain too much there. And then like Dart, there's nothing really else you have to say. Like, there's nothing I'm gonna say that's gonna do justice to what we've all been saying. He's a rookie, and in 4 games, he looks like better than half of the starting quarterbacks. Not half, but yeah, probably. I mean, at least the bottom 10 starting quarterbacks. Like, he looks better than those guys, right? He looks like a top 20 quarterback already, arguably top 15 if you want to really go there. But at minimum top 20. But you can't ask anything else from him. He's just phenomenal, right? This is just the beginning for him. Obviously, again, doing the best he can with playmakers. The interception, obviously, bad decision. He didn't see the linebacker there. Theo was open, right? He was going to get it to him. Theo, if he caught it, was going to probably get the first because the defender was trailing on his backside. He just didn't see the linebacker. Is what it is. Rookie mistake, right? For me, I kind of blame that more on play calling. I don't know why you're throwing it there, right? I understand the first, you went 3rd and 5 and like, hey, we need to get the first. Like, I understand that. But I feel like for you to commit to running it on the first 2 plays, passing it on third, like for me, you should have either run or run pass run if you were going to do that. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but even worst case scenario, you run it, you don't get it, the clock still runs. It'll probably be 3rd and 5. At the worst, it'll probably be 3rd and 5. You just get back to the line, the clock runs, whatever. So I blame them more on play calling, but he has to take, he took responsibility for the interception too. No one's gonna sugarcoat it. It was a bad pick, is what it is. He got back down and scored, right? Did Vegas call in? Yes. But regardless, not to take away, man, the penalties, yeah, so we did get bailed out with those, but his throw on 4th and 17 was a laser, no pun intended, it was a dart to Wandale, with taking the hit, like ballsy play. So I think this kid does have the clutch gene. I think he has the it factor, and man, if we can just, for me, man, if we can just get this Waddle trade go into next year with Neighbors and Waddle and Wandale at the slot, please get Slayton off my team. But I don't even want to talk about him, but I'll be optimistic for where it's going, and I think the tides are turning with this team. But the biggest thing is, man, is that was the offensive side. The defensive side, which is obviously the biggest culprit of yesterday. It starts with Bowen, man. Right? I'm not gonna say anything that's gonna like enlighten anybody on him in the situation, but he wasn't a good DC when he was hired. Right? They hired him out of Tennessee, and when he was in Tennessee, his defense was ranked 27th, I think, or 28th, somewhere in the bottom of the league. So I don't know why he was the hire to go with, right? Obviously, the situation with Wink, deteriorated, to the point that it did. And I mean, to be fair to Dable, right? I'm not like some Dable defender at this point, but no one else in the league hired Wink either, right? He had to go to Michigan, so wherever you feel on that is where you feel on that. But the fact of the matter is that Bowen he's not a good defensive coordinator. I think a lot of time, I think he has good moments, but I think in crunch time he plays not to lose, but in doing that you're going to lose because his prevent is a losing prevent, right? Like, he gives way too much cushion. That gets teams easy conversions, easy receptions, easy first downs, and then that's all you need, man. You get rolling, you get into a rhythm, boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, you're in the red zone, right? Like, and that's really all it takes. Honestly, I don't know why you went away from the same thing you were doing all game, right? Obviously, Adebo goes down. The worst player on the team, Tay Banks, comes in, right? He can't guard a nosebleed. So, like, there's that, and I understand that. Maybe I understand the argument of saying, we gotta call it differently because different personnel. Tay Banks sucks. I get that. Either way, though, what you do is, first of all, take Tay Banks off of Cortland Sutton, because I don't know why you kept thinking, I understand the logic of he's their biggest corner, he's the most physical corner, whatever, but he just sucks. First of all, I wouldn't even keep him on, honestly. I wouldn't even have him on the field, whatever. And that gets into a conversation of where I kind of question this coaching staff and their talent evaluation, because the Cowboys game with James Hudson, right? He literally is not an NFL tackle, right? Like, NFL tackles don't get penalized that much, but you see him in practice every day. And so you saw him in practice every day and said, yeah, I'd rather that guy start than Marcus Bowe, who the second you inserted him in, had an amazing game, his first game as a rookie, right? Obviously, the Dallas defense isn't one to write home about, but either way, as a rookie, right, can't ask for much else. And James Hudson was getting beat by that same defense and just a lunatic. So, but tracking that back to the Tay Banks thing, right? He sucks, and you still put him in, right? Flott is obviously a decent cornerback. He's played pretty well. Drew Phillips, great cornerback. He's our best cornerback next to Adebo, right? Okay, Adebo goes out. I'm not even joking when I say this. I would rather Corey Black, the 7th round pick we drafted, be in that spot than Tay Banks, honestly. I think I'd rather that, because Tay Banks is an automatic just L. He's just a loser. He cannot play the position. He's just shot. He's shot. But either way, you should have moved him off of Sutton and put him on to Troy Franklin or whatever other receivers they have. Because Cortland Sutton is a good receiver in this league, a very good receiver in this league. He's like a top 15 to 20 receiver in this league. And so for you to just constantly, and the Debo held him in check. Again, the defense all game was called well. I don't know what changed aside from Tay Banks, and even if that was the case, don't like, one guy is not going to beat you, and if he is, then just shade Dane Belton or Tyler Nubin or Bobby Okereke, whatever. You make up for it. Just shade one of them into his own to help Tay Banks with Sutton. Like, there's so much, like, and this is the thing, like, I don't understand. I really question the prep how thoroughly they prep week to week, because like, I don't feel like their situational football is atrocious. I don't think Dable and Bowen, who we're mainly talking about, but I think it falls on Dable too. I don't think, and Kafka too. I don't think their situational football and situational awareness I don't think they prep thoroughly enough for any situation that comes about. I think they're so, I don't know what they do. I think, in my opinion, I just think they're so focused on like scripting that first drive, scripting plays offensively, whatever. And I think Dable and Kafka are so locked in on offense. And again, the offenses looked really good, so props to them. Like, you put up 32 points, like, that's on the defense. But I think they're so focused on that, it's like, I just don't think they're, and even then, the offense, again, situationally is lacking. I think they just focus on plays during the middle of the game. I don't think they work on situational offense and situational defense. I don't think it's evident that they don't. Because for all intents and purposes, like, this is an underrated part of the Eagles game, right? That fumble doesn't happen, right, that we recovered. They're probably scoring that drive. And that's a completely different ball game at that point, because there's still 5 minutes left, which is all the Broncos needed, right? So, like, if you're being real with ourselves, like, it's obviously a coaching thing. It's not a personnel thing, right? We have the personnel. It's not a personnel thing, right? Obviously, the players have to make plays, etc., etc. But when you just have ass players out there like Deontay Banks, right? And you get a team into a rhythm, right? Things like that happen, right? The one, I shouldn't say fluke, but the first touchdown that got them on the board, right? That bobble or whatever it was by Troy Franklin. Guess who was on? Deontay Banks, who gave up on the play and just watched him catch it. Didn't dive, didn't do anything. Same with the drive to get down. Tay Banks on Cortland Sutton. So it's just top to bottom, it's just coaching malpractice, just to be frank. And like, in my opinion, it's tough because you don't want to mess with Dart and his development. At the same time, you know what this coaching staff is. You know it's bad situationally. You know they play not to lose rather than play to win. You know, I don't know. It's mixed feelings. It doesn't look like they're gonna do anything this season. I don't think. Well, they came out today. Dable's not. You know, they're not firing Bowen, so Bowen's gonna last probably the season. Because they're obsessed with like this like image of like, oh, like, we do the right thing by people. Like, I get that, and that's cool and respectable and whatever, but like Andre Patterson, like, I think he'd be a much better DC than Bowen, and who knows, Patterson could be a terrible DC, but like, it can't be worse than Bowen, right? like situationally, and just I don't know. So I think, I mean, I again, obviously won't happen, but I think Tay Banks needs to get cut, like for real. Again, this is like not a new opinion, like right, like everyone is saying this, but he's on a rookie deal. His dead cap is nothing. It'll cost you nothing. Like, just cut him. He's not good in any capacity. Like, he just needs to go. Bowen's not going anywhere. They, said today. I mean, yeah, obviously Dable's not going to go anywhere at least this season. Yeah, I mean, it's rough because as much flack as I've given Shane over the years, and everyone has, but which I think is a decent amount of is unwarranted or blown out of proportion. But regardless, he put a really good roster together this year. He did a bang up draft. There's definitely his 23 draft is awful. One of the worst drafts we had. 24 was obviously Neighbors and Tracy, but I could be forgetting names, but I feel like it wasn't too bad. I mean, with those two names, Neighbors and Tracy, like that's kind of the highlights, and it was and Newbin, that's right, Newbin and Phillips. So 2024 wasn't a bad draft either. That was actually a pretty good draft too. And Muasau, so not too bad of a draft. I had to look it up real quick, but so 24, his last two drafts have been very good, very very good. 23 was awful, but I'm trying to think, was that his first draft or his second draft? Let me look it up again, because that might have been, no, it's his second draft. His first draft was the Kayvon and Neil draft, and Wandale and Flop and Ezadu and Bellinger. So listen, more times than not, yes, the 2023 draft was awful. It was irredeemable. It was awful. It sucks. Like, it's just like nothing good to write home about it. Like at all. JMS looked like he was going to be promising, and listen, he still might, but I think everyone's kind of done with him. So JMS did not work out. Jalen Hyatt, he just is not an NFL receiver. He has not developed well at all. And I think that's just more on him being limited. I don't think I just think he's he was taken in the third round for a reason. Team saw something, and Banks horrible. Eric Gray, I don't even know if he's on the roster anymore. He did nothing. I think he had played one game that was halfway decent, but so yeah, the 2023 draft awful. But I mean, other than that, his 24 draft and 25 draft, not too bad. That 23 draft, he had Trey Hawkins, the third, which I'd rather see him than Deontay Banks and Jordan Riley. He was cool for a second, but I'd rather see Trey Hawkins in so much more than Deontay Banks. But either way, I think Shane, I don't know. I'll put it like this. If Shane got rid of Dable and the whole staff, but he stayed, I would honestly just have to wait and see. I would be mixed, because I feel like they should be a package deal, but at the same time, Shane, put offense and defensively, put together a really good roster. You know, like there's talent on this roster. But I think also though, like you have to give him a lot, like seriously, like a lot of flack for the special team situation, specifically the kicking situation. It's just an excuse. Like it is to be functioning at a professional level and not like figure out something as simple as kicking is such malpractice where that's as much good as he's done. It's stuff like that where it's like, man, like yeah, they both have to go, right? Because like that's like a professional football, like that's like a layup. Get a kicker who can kick. Like in my personal opinion, I've kind of thought this for years. Like obviously there's outliers like Brock Purdy, etc., etc. But I feel like 7th round picks, like no one expects anything from them. Like right, like I would like for my 7th round pick, like I would take the best kicker in the nation, right, and just be like, oh, cool, like done with it. Or even like just undrafted, one of your undrafted signings, sign the back kick, whatever. Either way though, like that's such an important thing. Like kicking is points on the board. Like that's such an important position to have, right? Like Brandon Aubrey, he was undrafted, so I'm not saying to like obviously like do that every time. I'm just saying like for something like because you take a 7th round corner, right? Do you expect that 7th round corner to be anything other than a gunner? You can find a dude to run down and be a gunner, right? Like stuff like that, like positions that are actually like going to impact your team. Kicker is one of them, like right. Punter is one of them, like directly, So that was just my philosophy with that. But I feel like at the end of the day, like that's such a malpractice. Like you, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. And my gut feeling, I think Dable and Shane are back. Bowen won't be back. At the worst case scenario, Bowen will not be back. But Dable and Shane will be back because I think Mara is going to be on the don't mess with Dart's development. Dart loves Dable, etc., etc. So I think Dable at least will get next year. But I think if there's no playoffs next year, then he'll get fired. Like indefinitely. Which again, to me, like, whatever, but I feel like I will say though, I feel like Dable should have been fired this offseason, him and Shane, but Mara gave them the extra year, and again, credit where it's due, props to Mara, that ended up being a decent decision. In some decisions the right decision, because Dable was able to evaluate a good quarterback in Dart and pick him. Shane was able to trade up to get him, right? Gotta give credit where it's due. They do good things, and they are good at certain things. They are. They're just not complete successes. Like they just have glaring flaws, right? So it's just like at the end of the day, it's kind of like just where it's gonna be. But we look on to the all in all, again, a complete malpractice. Just to wrap it up, like Dart loved the last drive, right? We got bailed out, by Vegas, of course, but either way, they still got to get into the end zone. For me, I would have kneeled down with 40 seconds. Kneel down, get it to like 20, 25 seconds, 30, 20, 25 seconds, right? You're at the one handoff to Scatterboo, he gets in, or like Dart did, right? Like I would have like walked off, seriously, like get it down to 1 second and literally just man up. I can live with that more than what happened, honestly. I can live with that. But on to Philly. Not feeling great. I mean, Philly, listen, that Minnesota Vikings team is flawed. Obviously the Hawkinson controversy, there's that, but all in all, for a team that spotted them 2 interceptions and to still lose by 7, that Vikings team isn't, the roster itself is very good, but the quarterback situation drags it down immensely. So, Philly obviously got right on them, but the Vikings secondary is kind of atrocious, and by kind of, I mean it is atrocious. So I think I don't think much has changed since last Thursday. Giants, I think, are mainly the same. The Eagles, I think, are mainly the same. Obviously, two different trajectories at the moment trending. The Eagles feel like they got it right. The Giants are coming off a super emotional loss, so it'd be a tough task to sweep them anyway, especially in Philly. I think they're capable of doing it for sure, and you can always factor in that maybe the Giants do want to get their get back and, say F that, like we're coming out and swinging. So who knows, right? And they might feel like confident against this Philly team because they just beat the brakes off of them. So who knows? That game is going to be a crazy game. I feel like Dart is definitely going to, the thing at this point is Dart's probably going to show up, right? I mean, it's only 4 games in, but you could see it with him. Like, he's going to show up. He's going to be ready. Scattered was going to be ready. Burns will be ready. Dex will be ready. Abdul, Kayvon will be ready. I'm hoping Holland and Adebo are ready, because if we don't have them, I'm very, very, I can guarantee you we will lose if we at least don't have Adebo. If we don't have Holland, whatever, Belton isn't that bad. I like him, but Adebo, if he's out and Tay Banks says that it's not gonna happen. That's gonna be an L. So hopefully Adebo can get right. Hopefully Holland can get right in a perfect world. I don't even know if I want Slayton back, but I mean, I guess he's better than Hyatt, So, I mean, hopefully we get Waddle this week, but that's at the moment, that's just fairyland. You have to do what you have. So, on to Philly, and hopefully we can get to 3-5 and take it from there. Next order of business, the Knicks, orange and blue. They're coming up real soon. Probably the only New York team anyone's looking forward to. Yeah, man. I've been watching the Knicks since 09-10. That was my first season I watched. 29 and 53, I believe. Yeah. And the David Lee All-Star year. That was my first season watching. So if track it from then till now, this is the most expectations the Knicks have ever had. Ever. So just being frank. Not saying I'm not appreciative of it. I'd rather be here than where we were. Like, don't get it twisted. But I will say the weight of expectations is heavy. Like, just to be frank, and this is not to look down on any team, just on paper and the landscape, like the East, it's Knicks or bust, right? You break down the East, I think the Pistons are going to be a force, right? I think the Pistons are going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I think they're going to develop really well. At the end of the day, though, I think, the Pistons played what I think is a worse version of us, right? I think last year's Knicks and this year's Knicks, mainly swapping out Tibbs for Mike Brown. Offensively, at least, it's going to be a way more consistent and way more structured offense. And hopefully defensively, they have a game plan there too. But I think you factor in both teams taking a step forward, right? We took them out in 6 last year, so I don't think they're there yet. I think Cade is a star. I think he could definitely take an even bigger leap this year. And again, like, I don't want to discredit them. I think the Pistons are a force to be reckoned with. I just think personnel-wise, they're not, like, on our tier yet. Like, I think even, like, the Cavaliers, I don't think they're on the Cavaliers tier yet. The Cavaliers are frauds, obviously. Like, and again, I don't want to, like, violate, but it is what it is at this point. I think even Cavs fans will tell you that, like, every year they choke and they're kind of frauds. So I feel like, but that would like for example, Detroit Cavs, that's a 7-game series, right? And if, in my opinion, I think in a game 7 Detroit would take it. I think Donovan would show up potentially in a game 7, but I don't know if the rest of the Cavs would. Either way, I think that is Detroit. I think the Magic can take a big step. I just feel like, I don't know, they have the Magic have great talent, young talent, and I think it's just like, I don't know, they just need the coach that's gonna like just like bring it all together for them and just like hone in on their talents and raw just talent and point them in the right direction and develop them. Powell's he's the probably the most underrated, underrecognized anything number one pick. Like people forget he was a number one pick. Franz Wagner is awesome. He is super underrated. They got Desmond Bane, veteran 3-point shooter, just scorer, right? Like I think he was putting up 21, 22 a game in Memphis. Vet, shooter, stocky defender. Just a great wing guy to add and a vet to add to what they have going on right now. And I think that's a great team talent-wise, and I think they could take a step. But again, I don't think they match up with us, mainly just because they haven't, been to where we've been yet. They don't have the experience. They're very young, stuff like that. So, again, those are my two big ones out the East. Like of the not normal ones. Like obviously Boston's gonna be there. Boston kind of blew it up, right? They're still gonna be great. Like Jaylen Brown's great. Like they're gonna be still top like 3 seed, probably 4 seed. But again, Tatum's trying to fight back for some reason. I don't know why. He's only putting himself in jeopardy. But say even he fights back to come for the playoffs, he won't. I don't think he'd be 100%. I think honestly he'd be playing a little hesitant and scared physically because, obvious reasons. But his Achilles being the obvious reason. But man, I just think like the best of the Celtics was seen in that championship year. I don't think, even last year, I don't think they've gotten better. Anthony Simons is nasty. The fact they were able to get him is crazy. So I think the Celtics will still be great. Mazzulla is an amazing coach. He's like a top coach. You could argue he's the best coach in the league if you really wanted to, but he's a great coach. So they'll still be there. But I think us beating them last year. I wouldn't be too concerned about this year. Same with the Pacers, right? We all saw that series ended. For me, I blame a lot of that on Tibbs for game 1 and Cat. That game 1 changed everything. Hallie's out for the year. I don't think he's fighting back like Tatum. Like, I think he's just doing his normal recovery, but he could be. I haven't really kept tabs on him too much, but they lost Miles Turner, who was like their big vet, clutch 3-point shooter. I think they added Tim Hardaway. I think. Either way, I just think minus Hallie, obviously Carlisle in that system, they're always going to be competitive. They're always going to run up the score, and they're going to be well prepared and well coached. I just don't think talent-wise without Hallie. I think their offense and their just whole scheme takes a step back because he does play make and set the tempo a lot for them. He's the focal point up. It's a system, yes, but he is the ringleader. He is the center of the system. Based on his talents, his playmaking, his speed, agility, shooting, etc. Even with his inconsistencies, like it's still centered around him. So, I think that. The Pacers, again, they'll be there and they'll be respectable. But again, I think down Hallie, I wouldn't be too concerned. So, and again, the Cavs, you have to see it to believe it at this point. They've disappointed a number of years. So, again, that's kind of, like I said, just the weight of expectations is heavy because it's kind of finals or bust. Just to be frank about it, like, again, there's no one that should beat you in the East. So it is get to the finals or bust. And then at that point, again, you stack up on paper, like, in my personal opinion, I think Houston comes out the West, barring injuries. I think KD is exactly what they needed. They needed a vet go-to bucket getter, who can still play some defense, right? I think they cut off the dead weight, like they cut off all the fat on the roster. Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks, the unneeded, just not gonna help you win a championship. Those two guys, right? So, and they got someone that can help you win a championship. So, for me, in my personal opinion, I think it's Houston that comes out the West. But say OKC comes out again because their roster's just loaded, right? Seeing how they played against Indiana doesn't scare me. And to preface that, I'll just say straight up, I didn't want to see OKC right in the finals, assuming that we had went to the finals, because the 2 games we played with them earlier that year, they beat us twice, and whatever. I just, I thought they were by far and away the best team in the league, and just to see the way Indiana took it to Game 7 and very well could have won it. And I didn't think us and Indiana was too much of a gap. I just think the Game 1 was so deflating. We were never able to overcome it. But I mean, if that's the best OKC has to offer, I'm not really scared of them, honestly. In any capacity. I think, and I shouldn't say that, but I mean, that showing wasn't a good showing. And for me, that didn't invoke of of them. For me, we have a way, way, way upgraded bench from last year. Way upgraded. Jordan Clarkson is your 6. Yabusele from Philly, who's had a great year last year off the bench. You have Shamet back. You still have Deuce off the bench. You have to just pray that Mitch stays healthy, right? At that point, at this point, it's all you can do is just pray he stays healthy, he plays safe basketball, right? Don't chase and die for every ball, right? In the regular season. Not that I don't think that's important. I think the regular season is super important, obviously. But for him specifically, just play tender until the playoffs, right? But I do think with Cat running at the 4, Mitch at the 5, McCall and OG at the 2 and 3, and Beto, I think that's a lineup I'd like to see. I think Hart needs to come off the bench. I don't think he excels at the starting spot, right? I think when he gets the ball too much in his hands for too long, he starts making those stupid boneheaded mistakes that everyone hated him for last year in the playoffs. So I think he's better in his role off the bench, bring energy, get the boards, coast to coast, hit a shot here and there, etc., etc. I think that is truly where he excels. So your bench becomes Jordan Clarkson, Josh Hart, Yabusele, Deuce, Shamet, and then you're starting 5. And then if you get anything from Dadier, you'll take it. But that's pretty much where it's at. So for me, again, this is the biggest and most expectations out of a Knicks season that I've ever had, ever. So I mean, I'm excited. I think we're gonna have a really good year. I think we'll be in the 50 to 55 win range, maybe even more. But I would say safely 50 to 55 win range again. I think, just start off strong. Brunson is Brunson. I don't even have to say anything about him. My biggest, thing is just I hope they can find a system that defensively works for Cat to give him effort, or at least puts him in situations that he could be successful in defensively. Obviously, the Nembhard thing last year, or the Nesmith thing last year, a big part of that was on Cat, not fighting over all those screens, and he just was on a heater. So you got to tip your cap at that point, just hitting all those shots. But Cat just not fighting over the screens all series, not fighting over the screens, right? Very limited times that he did, but all and when he did, it was successful. But all series just not fighting over the screen, just not gonna happen. Not gonna be successful with that happening. So I hope Mike Brown again just implements a system defensively. I know it's not his super specialty, but just implements a system defensively that could put Cat in situation for success. Same with Brunson. But yeah, I mean, Cavs coming up. Let's start the season 1-0, and get rolling. Right? It's Knicks season, Knicks tape season. Orange and blue, So let's get it. I'm excited for that. And last but not least, the pinstripes. Listen, I'm probably not gonna take super long on this because there's really not much to say, man. It's the same thing every year. We know what it is. Cashman and Boone are obsessed with the analytics. They're obsessed with the MIT guys, and that's what they believe in. They believe because they're doing the process the right way, right? That's all you can ask for. And where the cards fall, they fall, but they did the process the right way. And because of that, the result doesn't matter. They had the right process, So what A-Rod and Jeter said is telling, right? They said the quiet part out loud, right? They think Cashman is not good at his job. Right, like that's what they said. Cashman doesn't know what he's doing. It's not a Boone problem, it's a Cashman problem, which everyone knows it's a Cashman problem. Everyone but Hal knows it's a Cashman problem. And just it sucks because every year you're in the playoffs, and every year it's like, oh, like you're there, like anything can happen. Yes, it can. That's what you get roped into. But every year it's the same. These bats are not built for October, and they go cold. Every single October for the last 8 years, the bats have gone cold. 7 years. 2017, they did not go cold. The last 7 years. So, I mean, again, they're going to go after Murakami. He'll be a Dodger. They'll probably have to settle for Pete, which I'm not upset with, but that's the Cashman masterclass. That's Cashman's like fantasy. A 240 batter with 40 home runs, right? And a mediocre glove, right? That's Cashman's like wet dream. So probably miss out Murakami. He'll be a Dodger. They'll sign Pete. And they're just gonna run it back, right? Jazz will be at second, which I like Jazz. He's streaky, but I like him. He has a good glove, good in the field. It's just streaky, strikes out a lot, but he brings energy. Volpe, man, I don't think they're doing anything with him. I think he's going to stay. They're obsessed with him. I don't think it was all Volpe's fault last year. I think it was terrible management by Boone and them. For how they managed Volpe. But I mean, man, like, he needs to definitely bounce back for sure. McMahon probably be at third again. I'm not sure of his contract situation. I think that he's still here though, because that's why I think they didn't trade for Eugenio, because they knew he was a rental. So I'm pretty sure McMahon's here next year. Obviously Judge isn't right. Center will be. So outfield is the question, because Trent isn't coming back, right? Belly, people were saying that Belly will probably come back. In my gut, I did not think he was going to come back, and I don't. But for all intents and purposes, a lot of people are saying that they think Belly is going to come back. So, okay, Belly's back. And then, I mean, you got to make a decision on Jason. Like, you got to commit to him or what? Or trade him. Right? Like, you got to, like, piss or get off the pot kind of thing, right? Like, commit to him or don't, or trade him, right? And call up Spencer. Get Spencer some reps, right? And see if Spencer could be your answer in center field or left field, wherever you want to play him. Same goes for Lombard. Like, for me personally, you have McMahon, so that's probably what it's gonna stay as. But I mean, McMahon's bat is nothing to write home about at all, right? It's an awful bat. But you gotta call Lombard at some point too, right? For me, if you're gonna stay obsessed with Volpe, right, put Lombard at third and Volpe at short, and see how that rocks. Volpe can't defend the corner, so I don't think that's gonna happen. But put Lombard at third, see what happens. And I think too, for me personally, as much as I do like him, I would either commit to Rice or Wells. For me personally, I'd commit to Rice, and either keep Wells as a platoon or trade Wells and see if someone else values him, and add like a rotation piece, or not a rotation piece, but a pen piece, something like that. You getting Cole back, Freed's a stud. You have Rodon. Hopefully Schlittler wasn't a one-time thing, and hopefully is a stud to stay. And then Heel, which I think is I don't know about Heel. Obviously, he was the rookie of the year, but we gotta see. For me personally, this is me in like fantasy land, but I really don't think it's that fantasy land. But for me personally, because the Yankees need game changers to overcome Cashman's like moronicness with the analytics, and that's why they got to the World Series last year, because Soto was above the analytics. Soto was a playmaker. Soto was a game changer, right? All these years, all Cashman tries to do is put band-aids on the lineup and band-aids on the rotation and the pen. It's band-aids, band-aids, band-aids. There's no long-term fixes. And even Soto was a band-aid, but he was a game-changing band-aid. He's a playmaker. The Yankees don't have playmakers. They don't have game changers, right? And so this is where I take what I'm going to say, it's fantasy line a little bit, but it's the type of moves that they need to make to take it to the next level. Like, for me, I would either figure out if you're committing to Jason or not, right? And that is what this all hinges on. If you're not committing to Jason for the big picture, I'm rounding up Jason and Volpe and Heel. And if the money works, figure out how the money works, whatever. And I'm calling up the Padres and I'm saying, hey, are you done with Manny? And then you solidify third base for good. He's your third baseman. And I think Manny's going to age like fine wine. Like, I don't think he's falling off no cliff, personally. So that's what I'd do. You have Belly in left or center. Call up Spencer. Let him play with the big boys. Show him what you got. Call up Lombard. Put him in short. Let him play with the big boys. Show him what you got. And play ball, right? Pete at first. Or Murakami, but realistically Pete. Jazz at second. Lombard at short. Manny at third. Judge in right. Belly in left. Spencer in center. Rice behind the plate. And then Giancarlo at DH until whatever. But again, for me personally, I think that regarding Giancarlo, I put it like this. And I was willing this year, even, at the deadline. And the playoffs reinforced it. If someone sees value in him, or is even willing, not to do us a favor, but like, if there's any situation where they can move him, they need to move him. you know, I'm a big fan of Giancarlo, right? Obviously, as all Yankees, most Yankees fans are. But I just don't think the value's there, especially because he's not gonna hit in the playoffs like he did this year, right? I don't think they're going to do that. Again, none of these things that I'm saying are they're going to do, besides probably signing Pete, right? These are just things they should do, right? But I don't think they're going to do any of these things. But for me, Giancarlo, like, if there's value at the deadline for him, I would move off of him. I really would. They're not going to. Like, he'll end his contract a Yankee. But that's where it is with the the Yankees situation as a whole. So they're gonna run it back. They're gonna run back the analytics. They're gonna run back Boone. Again, probably win the division. Again, probably, not probably, they'll make the playoffs again. Gotta give props to Judge though. Gotta give props to Judge, right? He showed up. He's the only one that showed up this playoffs. He's the only one that showed up. So obviously the narrative isn't fully broken yet, but he showed up and did his job this playoffs. So cannot blame him in any capacity for this year, the postseason at least. Volpe didn't show up, but a bunch of guys didn't show up. I shouldn't even highlight Volpe, but I think that's Volpe's a conversation for another day. Yeah, I mean, again, we'll see what happens come winter meetings, but again, I would envision it would be that, Pete, them probably beefing up the pen, but that'll probably be the max of what they do, this winter meeting. So I'll wrap it up with the Rangers, and then just other New York teams. I mean, I don't know. I feel like with the Rangers, I think realistically the expectation kind of should be a tick above last year, right? I think they'll sneak into the playoffs. Probably, if you're sneaking in, you're going to be a lower seed. They'll get in as a lower seed. If they make a Cinderella run, great. I don't see this group doing that, right? Like they just scored their first home goal tonight in game 8, I think it is, right? Panarin finally broke the streak of no goals at home. So, I mean, Igor's a stud. Everyone knows that. He's an absolute stud. But I just think offensively, it's very limited. They shipped everyone off. Kakko didn't work out the way they thought it would. And I don't know. They're in a very, very, very weird spot, right? Because it's not like you're so bad where you're tanking, but it's also you're not that great either, right? And I don't know how much Mike Sullivan realistically is going to get out of this group. I think the group is just limited as a whole. JT Miller is going to be JT Miller, right? You can only get so much out of him, right? Like Zibanejad, I know a lot of people didn't even want him back, right? Laffy, I'm a Laffy fan. I do really like Laffy. I just think it's limited. Adam Fox. It's as crazy as this. It's painfully mid. I guess that's the best word to describe it, right? I love Rampy. Rampy is awesome. I know some people that don't like him. I like Rampy. Panarin, he's been around forever. Like, I don't know. I think it's just painfully mid. Honestly, I think that just really is what it comes down to with them. And we'll see. I don't expect much. 7, 8 seed, 6 at best. But I don't see much from them this year. And again, it's not full rebuild. It's a weird year, and so hopefully Mike Sullivan can get the most out of this group and go into next year, feeling positive. But I don't see much happening this year with the Rangers. And then to wrap it up, just wrap up with the other teams. I guess the biggest headline of the other teams would be the Jets. Obviously 0-7. I understand it's a year one coach, but I don't think that just excuses everything, right? Like, you're a defensive head coach and your defense is awful, or most of the year has been awful. And it's not due to a lack of talent, right? No matter, regardless how you feel about them, yeah, Sherwood took a step back maybe, or definitely, depending on who you ask. Or most people you ask, but Quinnen is still talented. Quincy's still talented. Sauce is still talented. They lost their cornerback too. Obviously a weak spot. Safety is a weak spot. But it's not like bereft of talent. Like, Will McDonald's a really good edge rusher. Jermaine Johnson's a really solid edge rusher. Like, they have talent on the defensive end. And granted, the past few weeks, right, they've held it together. But now it's the offense, right? When the offense was putting the points, the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Now that the defense is playing better, the offense can't do anything, right? And I think a big part of that is Fields offensively, right? He's just not good, right? And I've never been a Fields fan. I know he's limited as a passer, all of that. But even I didn't think he was this bad. I don't know if it's the Jets. I don't know if it's Fields, but he's awful. And I really think it should just be Tyrod ending the year, unless they're trying to tank for a pick. But if they're trying to be competitive and win a game, which you should, going winless doesn't help anybody, contrary to the tank, thing. But they should just start Tyrod throughout for the rest of the year. They probably will run Fields, but I don't know. I think offensively, the O-line, it's decent, but it's inconsistent. Obviously, losing AVT was a huge blow. The tackles, which is like their pride and joy, Olu and Embo or Membo, right? Those are their like cornerstones. Inconsistent, I feel like, because I feel like they've gotten beaten on some games, but I think generally speaking they are good. Tipman is great. Their O-line is good. It's weapons wise, I think is where, it's not the worst, but it's also not the best. Garrett Wilson's a great receiver. They have no wide receiver 2 or 3 or slot. They have nothing outside of him. Ruckert, he's just like a whatever tight end. Like, I feel like he's kind of reliable, but he's not gonna make any big plays really consistently. Like, very seldom. And then Brees is a stud, but I don't know, man. Brees has been not having a good year. I think he kind of knows he's a dead man walking. I feel like everyone knows he's a dead man walking in terms of like him getting shipped out at the deadline. But I kind of just feel like, I don't know, it's just not there. For me personally, I'm a big Braylon Allen fan. I can't tell you why. I just really like Braylon Allen. I feel like he is immensely talented. So I don't know if they feel that way, but I don't know. I don't know if Brees is having an issue, if it's, again, he knows he's getting traded, and I don't know. But I think at 0-7, you have to start questioning Glenn, and I feel like depending on how the second half of the season plays out, because we're pretty much getting to the halfway point, right? If you're winless at the halfway point, which would be like 0-9, 0-8-ish, right? And depending on how it looks, I don't know. The Patriots one and done it, right? The Jags, or they weren't one and done, but they got rid of their guy, and they're better for it now. So I feel like something to at least consider, because it's been really bad. It's been really bad with Glenn. But we'll see what happens there. The Mets, obviously missing playoffs is super tough, especially with that payroll. I am shocked, but I'm not gonna say I'm the most shocked in the whole world, only because of the rotation. The rotation, even outside of the pen, because the bullpen was literally an abomination after the deadline. But the rotation to begin with was never good going into the year. It was never a good rotation. And to not address it by getting Burns, by even trying to go after Fried, by just addressing nobody, I don't know how you could do that. I think they'll go after Skubal. Right? I think they'll try to trade for him. I think they'll go after somebody, but they'll address the rotation. They have to cut off some of this dead weight though. Like Marte can't come back, right? McNeil. They have to solidify third base. They can't keep platooning third base with Vientos and Beatty. Like pick one and trade the other one. In my personal opinion, I don't let Pete walk out the door. Pete is a Met, right? If I'm calling in the Mets, like Pete's a Met. I don't even let him be a Yankee, or anywhere. Like Pete's a Met. He should be a lifelong Met, in my opinion. I'm a fan of Pete. I like Pete. I think for Mets fans, it's awesome that they have Pete and that they like Pete so much. Like Pete's a Met, and Pete should be a Met for life. As a Yankee fan, I'm telling you this. Like Pete should be a lifer. Resign Pete, figure out second base, pick who you're gonna pick at third base and trade the other one to fill other holes. Right field, obviously Soto, and then figure out center field and left field. Try to go get a stud at center field and left field. I feel like they do have people there though, but I'm not super as in touch with the Mets roster, so I'd have to look. But go solidify center field, left field. Alvarez, a catcher, I feel like he's good and he's bad. Like he's a project. I feel like still, which isn't really a good thing in year 3 or 4 it is for him. But if he had a bad year this year, then I think you pivot maybe at the deadline or in the offseason for a new catcher. But I'd give Alvarez another year. And yeah, figure out what's going on with Senga. Senga, I was a fan of Senga personally. I think Senga is and was really good, but they got to figure out what happened with him and if he's even fixable. Figure out what's going on with Senga. Do not keep Clay Holmes in your rotation. Like, do not do that. At all. And yeah, just build up the rotation and build up the pen. Get solid guys in there. I think Mendoza's a really, really good coach. I genuinely do. I think he just, I don't know, just was dealt a bad hand with the pen and the rotation. And the offense was very inconsistent. Pete was carrying that offense for like 80% of the year. And then Soto and Lindor would get streaky and, but that's what I would do with the Mets. The Islanders and Devils, I mean, again, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm tuned into them, but I did say, I'd cover them. At least briefly, I'd mention them. But the Islanders, it sucks because they kind of had their run 3 years ago. And it feels like just now that's anything to do with that is just gone now. Any momentum, anything is just gone. So you gotta just hope it turns around at some point, but I don't know. I feel like it's gonna get worse there before it gets better. The Devils, at least to start the year, following off a pretty crazy year. They're already, I think, 5-1 or 6-1 it is. Yeah, they're 4-1. So we'll see where they go. Yeah. Again, I'm not gonna pretend like they're like I'm tuned into them or they're my team or anything. But again, that's how I cover them. And then the Nets, like again, like no, it's just strictly like no hater, like whatever. But I don't see much there. Kind of just seems like another lottery year. Maybe some guys get chipped off like Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, for capital or something. But I don't see much there. Michael Porter probably gonna take 20 shots a game. He might be a meme for a little bit because he's just kind of a meme, I feel like, and he's in New York, so I don't know. I don't think there's much there. Hope you just pray you get the lottery and go from there. But I think that covers everything. Covered the Giants, Jets, Yankees, Mets, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Islanders, Devils. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. Thanks for tuning in for the first episode. Again, try to do it weekly. I feel like it's a decent, schedule. It's doable, obviously, with like work and other things I got going on, but I'll try to do as much as I can. Again, as consistently as I can. So the base will probably be weekly, hopefully, and we'll go from there. Again, we're coming up on Giants and Knicks season, so hopefully if I can just recap again weekly, recap the Knicks, or not the Knicks, the Giants, every Sunday, every week, as the weeks go on. Same with the Knicks, do a weekly review on them. Baseball, we're in the winter meetings, and then same with the Rangers, probably just hopefully do a weekly update, weekly, weekend review kind of thing. But yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in for the first episode, and yeah, tune in for the next one. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, drop your comments, your takes down below. Let me know what I'm chatting about, what I don't know what I'm talking about, and I don't know, maybe if you think I do know what I'm talking about. I want to hear all of it down below. Appreciate you. See you guys in the next one. Peace.